Good morning, traders. Happy Friday. Friday. Hope you're all doing well. It is now the month of December. Very interesting stuff. The month of December is now officially on. Yesterday, we closed out the month of November. Last trading day of the month went pretty well. And we got some news that's popping off. First and foremost, I'd like to start by saying that tonight is the final deadline for our Black Friday, Cyber Monday holiday season deal at TRADEPRO Academy, right? Get the first month at $49. And next week on Monday, we're starting our live psychology course for our members that have joined. So we're going to be breaking that down throughout the remainder of next week. So if you're interested, obviously join us. Check out our live trading room where we have futures and options. Yesterday we had a banger options play long into the close. Now, let's dive into some of this news and we'll break down the trade plan on the session for the S&P 500 futures. So yesterday, Tesla was on the main stage in terms of what a lot of people were watching. We were looking for that CyberTruck launch. We talked about that yesterday pre-market. And what we saw, right, not very impressed reactions from traders and investors alike as Tesla's Gigafactory in Austin for the launch of the Cybertruck, right? That was the event. The shares, they fell about 1.7% during the regular trading hours and another about 2% after hours. They're still slumping here right now pre-market. They're putting some downside pressure in this thing. And the electric pickup looks like it needs to improve itself before getting the final round of applause. The starting prices for this block, very cubism, very, how can I describe this? Very Picasso-esque cubism type Cybertruck launch yesterday, right? It seems that it needs a little more improvement. It's going to be starting at about 61,000, right? $69,990 if I want to be a little more exact. More than 50% higher than the quoted when it was first unveiled 4 years ago in 2019. Now, obviously, inflation, blah blah blah, things have changed. So the base edition will also be available in 2025. While many of the touted specs like the 0 to 60 in 2.6 seconds, 130 miles per hour top speed, and a beastly torque and horsepower will only be offered to the most high-end variant known as the Cyber Beast. I think the starting price of the Cyber Beast was, I'm going to lie to you here, I think it was around 99,000, 90,000, something like that. A significant amount higher. It was like 40% increase of the base model, as well as, right, the mileage that the base model gets is actually 500 miles, while the Cyber Beast, the higher end, only gets 330. So 40% increase in price for 40% less of mileage. Interesting. The range also fell short of the original promised 500 miles and would only reach close to there via range extender and takes up 1/3 of the truck's bed. So a lot of people seem very disappointed in the reaction of the price in Tesla, and rightfully so, I guess. We've been waiting 4 years for this, and it doesn't seem like things are popping off as they were to be expected. Another thing to watch for is crude oil. This thing keeps getting obliterated pretty much. Yesterday we were running into the pre-market session very well, but OPEC Plus news had other plans. So U.S. crude oil surrendered a lot of its gains, falling more than 2% on Thursday, even after the OPEC Plus announced that some of the nation's members agreed to voluntary cuts approaching 2 million barrels per day starting in January. Traders were disappointed by the smaller than expected numbers and lack of details on the quota enforcement. This is why we saw this downside shift. At least 1.3 billion barrels per day, 1.3 million barrels per day of the cuts were also an extension of the voluntary reductions that Saudi Arabia and Russia already had in place. So not really new good news, if you will, sparking a lot of skepticism over whether they will actually be delivered. Meanwhile, Angola already rejected its new output target, saying that it will continue pumping as usual, while the biggest news may have been the addition of Brazil. So there's some other news that kind of fluttered through the market from BitDance and TikTok, right? Montana was set to become the first state in the nation to ban TikTok, which is owned by Chinese tech giant BitDance. But it also looks like the move is running into familiar roadblocks. Federal Judge Donald Malloy has blocked the bill set to go in effect on January 1st, 2024, saying that the measures violate the Constitution in more ways than one and overstep state power. While individual users would not have been punished, the law could have imposed fines of about $10,000 on any entity, namely the app stores of Apple and Google or TikTok itself, each time someone was offered the ability to access or download the app. So preliminary injunction, despite the state's attempt to defend SB 419 as a consumer protection bill, the current record leaves little doubt that Montana's legislator and attorney general were more interested in targeting China's role in TikTok than with protecting Montana consumers. So Judge Malloy also wrote the 48-page filing. While there may have been public interest in protecting Montanan consumers, the state has not shown how this TikTok bill does that. So this especially is apparent in the same legislature enacted an entirely separate law that purports to broadly protect consumers' digital data and privacy. Users are also deprived of communication and communicating by their preferred means of speech, and thus the First Amendment scrutiny is appropriate. That's what he said. So we'll see how that kind of plays out. Don't you guys remember what had happened earlier, a few years back, when Trump already sought to ban TikTok and forced a sale to its U.S. business to American company. And while the transaction with Oracle almost went through in 2020, the lawsuits just piled up and an injunction was granted to prevent the app from being outlawed. So the Biden administration later revoked the planned ban, ordering a national security review in the place, but China tensions and data privacy concerns eventually swept both sides of the aisle and led to a notable House hearing in March. So, however, Congress has passed a bill to outlaw TikTok on federal devices, as well as probe from CFIUS, while there has been proposed legislation to ban the app in the U.S. So we'll see how that kind of shapes up. It's been a long-serving battle of over 3 years now. But I do want to take a look more so into these markets. Now, I've been long swings on crude oil, and I think that the opportunities are still there realistically. There have been some temporary plights of sell pressure that's holding this thing in a distribution to the downside. If we can eventually climb up and start moving into the distribution higher into 81 plus, I think that really starts the push into 95 plus, which is my target by the end of Q1 to 2024. Right, that's a personal target. I can see that happening, and I'm putting on the risk to get long oil in different manners. Now, if we run this into the S&P 500 futures to wrap this update up, take a look at what's going on in the equity space. Yesterday, we had quite the run into the close, right? Even overnight, we peaked our heads above the distribution block. You can see where the distribution sits. High 70s to low 50s. That's the distribution. We're now about to open back within the balance, suggesting that rallies to be sold into the high 70s. That's what I'm going to be looking for to start the session. And if we can break cleanly above 81, the upside flips, and we're probably going to be targeting 46 plus. But as it stands right now, I'm going to be looking to short as we maintain into the top band of the distribution after head faking higher. So to wrap that up, that was it, right? Decent little quick update there on the markets as is, and I hope everyone has an amazing weekend. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back next week to start this up again. Happy December. We have the first trading day of the month, as well as the Friday. So don't lose your ass. Don't go crazy. Fridays are not the days that make your week, especially the first of the month, or I'd be very cautious of that. And yeah, how do I like the CyberTruck? My personal opinion, I'm kind of neutral, to be honest. I don't know. How do you like the CyberTruck? I'm pretty neutral with the Cybertruck. It's whatever to me. It looks kind of cool. It's new. Um, I think it could be cool in the future, but I don't know. Some people either hate it or love it. I'm pretty neutral on it. I've seen uglier SUVs. So, enjoy the week, enjoy the weekend. Thank you all for joining me today, and we'll do it again next week.